I bought myself an Xbox Series X. So let's talk about my thoughts on it. So, for anyone who follows me on Twitter or obviously saw the intro to the video and the title of the video, I indeed bought myself an Xbox Series X. Now, obviously, like most people who end up having some sort of decision to make between the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, I can only really afford one, right? Now, mind you, my plans do mean getting the PS5 eventually down the line. However, for now, I decided to get the Xbox Series X first and foremost, and then I'll get myself a PlayStation 5 down the road. Now, you may be wondering why, if you're somebody who likes PlayStation 5, or even if you're a fan of Xbox and you just kind of want to know my personal reasons as to why. Some of which are pretty obvious, I think, if you are someone who already likes Xbox, but just for people, because I'm pretty sure most of you guys are Nintendo fans on this channel and don't really have a a care for either, or maybe you do. So the main reason why I bought an Xbox Series X primarily has to do with my personal life, right? My personal life, the grand majority of the people I care about play on Xbox. These are basically personal friends that I basically view as family. So that's most of my reason why. That's more or less like 80 to 90% of the reason why I play on Xbox. The remaining reason I should say, is Game Pass, right? I think Xbox Game Pass is just extremely good. I have barely any downsides to Game Pass, honestly. It's all just good stuff. I find the selection of games good. I find the price worth it. And knowing that I don't have to pay for any kind of Xbox, owned studio games, whether that be Microsoft Game Studios, Inxile, Obsidian, I guess Bethesda in the near future, I don't really have to worry about a lot. Game Pass just kind of takes care of a lot of the games. And not to mention, like, a lot of the studios that they own, especially after the Bethesda buyout, are game studios that I already bought their games to play in the first place. I already love playing Bethesda games when they work. Doom is owned by them now. Wolfenstein is owned by them now. Elder Scrolls, Fallout, like, these are all franchises that I've played for a very long time, right? Like, even way before Game Pass was even a thing, I was already paying full price basically for these games, and in some cases double dipping for them to be on my Xbox and for them to be on my PC. So I don't know, I felt like it was a no-brainer to subscribe to Game Pass, and ever since I did subscribe to Game Pass, I haven't really had much issues with it, and I like it. So those are basically my main reasons for getting an Xbox Series X. The way I look at it, it's the platform I play the most because all of my personal close friends play on that platform. And the way I look at it, gaming for the most part is all about playing with your friends and having a good time. So I don't really feel like I should have bought the PlayStation 5 because most of my personal friends prefer Xbox, and whether their reasons make sense or not, my reason, I feel, does, right? I think I value that time more than I value playing a good game, right? Mind you, I do want to play good games, which is why I do plan on buying a PlayStation 5 down the road. I do want to play stuff like Miles Morales and Demon's Souls, and down the road I do want to play stuff like God of War, right? So that is going to happen at some point. I just can't afford to buy both, right? And the way I look at it, since Xbox is the platform I spend most of my time on, because my friends spend most of the time on that platform, I felt that it was worth upgrading the console, right? Finally, getting that next gen step up in the hardware and just making my games look good while I play with them, right? I don't know, I just felt like it was the best of both worlds kind of scenario, instead of just having like one console that's going to be I guess phased out in a few years, versus having PlayStation 5, or I could just upgrade the system I use the most right now. But yeah, that's more or less my main reason for buying an Xbox Series X. I gotta say, so far while having a system, I can see positives and some negatives, right? And I think that's going to be the case for regardless of which platform you play on, right? Even if the fanboys will do their best to pretend like those negatives don't exist. So here's what I'll say: the hardware is very, very good, right? Like it is, or I guess like lack of a better term, good. I don't know. I'm not much of a hardware buff. I don't really know the ins and outs of these kind of things, but I haven't really had too many issues with the platform. I know when I first opened it up and I booted it up for the first time, I had about 800 gigabytes of memory. I believe that is more than the PlayStation 5 has when you boot it up, so I think that's pretty good on my end. The system runs smoothly. It's very quiet. I haven't really had much issues on noise, or I don't know, the system just fucking up for whatever reason. It just seems to work the entire time, and obviously I have not been vaping through the console either. So yeah, like, it doesn't really seem to have much issues. Maybe in the long run memory might become an issue, but I'm more than happy to upgrade my storage. I'm not someone who is cheap when it comes to my storage. I usually tend to splurge on my consoles when it comes to making sure I have a good amount of storage. I don't know, I just always been that way. In terms of like the excitement, right, I think this is like something where it's seen as a negative for the Xbox, where because a lot of the UI and a lot of the features are, except for quick resume, which mind you is a cool feature, I really do like quick resume, but for the most part, most of the things on the, I guess, like software side, or maybe like the OS side and UI, are pretty much exactly one-to-one the same as it is on the Xbox One. A lot of people feel that there isn't really as much excitement when booting up the Series X by comparison with the PlayStation 5. And honestly, from what I've seen on the PlayStation 5 UI, yeah, that is totally new. Like, there's a new controller, there's a new UI and everything. And I think that's kind of where the trade-off is, in a sense. Because if you think about it, I think by the Series X choosing to use the same UI and OS and whatnot, they managed to save on memory, which is about like a 200 gigabyte difference when you look at, say, the PlayStation 5's available memory. Now, it might not be exactly 200. I didn't see exactly how much the PlayStation 5 leaves you with, but it's, what is it, like maybe 100 and something, or maybe 200 or something like that, right? And then if you look at the PlayStation 5, you have like controllers that, you know, PS4 controllers that don't work on PS5. You have like more memory being used up, and I think Xbox was just essentially trying to keep their system to be accessible regardless on where you upgrade, right? So if you upgrade it, I can still use my Xbox One controllers on the Series X. You can even use Series X controllers on the Xbox One, which is very weird, but you can do that. And it saves on memory that way as well. And I think, like, I do agree, and I understand that it is essentially less exciting when you boot up a new box and it looks the same, right? But I know there's more powerful hardware. I know I saved more memory in doing so, and I know that I can play like nearly four generations worth of Xbox games and also use my old Xbox controller. So there was a lot of very convenience and accessibility when it came to booting up the Series X. While with the PlayStation 5, I feel like there isn't as much. Now, mind you, I'm happy that it is backwards compatible, but you know, there's some leeway there, right? I think that's very good for the PS5 to have done that. And eventually, I do plan on getting a PS5, but when you look at the two, you can see that one of them focused more on accessibility, and one of them focused a lot more on something that is new, right? They made everything new on the PS5. And the Series X is mostly just like, hey, this is the same old thing you loved, but now better, like a little improved and better overall. And I think there's no flaw in that. One of them is basically making things new to keep it exciting. One of them is saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think that's perfectly acceptable, and it's something new, technically, I guess. It sounds weird to say, but it's kind of different. We haven't really seen a console do that before, where it's just essentially the same UI and everything, minus a few little, you know, details on like the controller and stuff like that. But I'm cool with that. I really am. But let me know if you guys got any next-gen consoles of any kind. You're going to play your Switch, you're going to play your PS5, you're going to play your Series X. Regardless of what it is that you're playing on, let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.
Shifty, yeah, Shifty, wanna be the #1 gamer, come and get me. It'd be dope if you subscribe, could you like the vid, please? Take your time, you don't gotta do it swiftly. Shifty, Shifty, wanna be the #1 gamer, come and get me.